Hello, World Wide Web. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Bridging the Gap podcast. Today, I've got another special guest on. We connected via the remote year community portal and quickly found that our values were aligned and decided to meet right here live. She's a women's coach for her company Latinas Ahead and is currently preparing a launch of a new podcast, Not Your Spicy Latina, on September 16th. I'm really happy to have her as a guest on this podcast. I'm looking forward to having many more. This podcast is about digital nomadism, finding your ikigai, working through Kaizen, learning how to chase your dreams and become the best version of yourself that you can. Without further ado, let's get into it. I understand how puppies can be. I was able to take mine out on time, but he's pretty small compared to me, so I'm able to control his
Oh,
his movements, so to speak. What kind of dog do you have?
so she is a miniature schnauzer. Okay, I'm gonna put this on mute. She's a miniature schnauzer mixed with Australian cattle dog. So she's a big
Oh,
dog in a schnauzer body, but like her
interesting.
personality, she has big dog energy.
Hey, excellent. I've got a. It's not mine. I'm here in Nicaragua doing some house sitting, pet sitting, and this little guy is
Hmm.
what is he? He is a Maltese and Yorkshire Terrier mix. So he's adorable.
Oh my gosh.
That's he's a
Oh, wait,
great
show
he's a
me.
great
It's
he's a great icebreaker. Peluche,
Cleo, come
Luce,
here. Come here, Cleo.
come, come.
Cleo, come
Come, we're showing you off. We're showing you off.
here.
Look at
I
you.
know we're doing dog show. Oh my. He is like a little titty. Oh my goodness.
No, he doesn't like
Oh
it
my
when I
gosh.
mess with him,
How
but
old is he?
he's about 2 years old. Just turning 2 in August here. Right? Hey,
Oh my
who
gosh.
invited you? Don't don't kiss me. It's not the time. I told you
What's his
about
name?
consent. Peluche.
Peluche. Of
He's
course,
from
his name would be
Nicaragua.
Peluche. He is a real teddy bear. Well, this one's Cleo, and
Nice
she's
to
the
meet you,
love of my
Cleo.
life.
Mm,
All right, Cleo,
it's
you're
good
gonna
to
be a
have
good
one
girl
of
while
those.
I do this, okay? Okay, I'm gonna put her down so she
Where are
can
you where are
relax.
you at right now? You living in the US or
Yeah, so I'm in the Washington, D.C. area. So, Northern Virginia, this town called Alexandria. So, I've been here, oh my gosh, 9 years now. Oh, I don't know how time passes
hey.
so fast, but yeah, 9 years. But before that, I
You're having
lived in
fun.
Florida for 10 years.
Oh,
Am I
really?
having?
Before. So 20 years in the
Yeah,
US? What made you pick
yeah. I moved to
sorry, go ahead.
D.C. Oh yeah, no. Before that, I'm Peruvian, so I was
Mhm.
born in Lima, and then I moved to Florida when I was 15 with my family.
Ah, okay. Okay. What made you pick Washington out of Florida? You
So I
weren't
had
weren't
this,
feeling the Florida vibes anymore?
yeah. So I'm probably the worst Floridian because whenever people ask me, they're like, "Why would you come to DC when you had like beautiful weather, beaches?"
Yeah.
I never liked Florida. Hate is a
Yeah.
strong word, but I would say I
Yeah.
strongly disliked it.
Okay.
Just doesn't suit my personality, and I feel like in DC there's more diversity, even though Florida has a big Latino community, and so like that was comfortable. It wasn't. Yeah, there was just something about it that it seemed like all you could do was go to the beach,
Yeah.
party,
Yeah.
and then that was it.
That's my vibe,
So
my thinking of it. But I mean, as I get older and my priorities change, Florida also has some benefits to it, like the tax incentives and things like that.
yeah,
So it has its
yeah.
ups and downs depending on your perspective, I think.
Yeah, my family still lives there, so it's nice because I get to
Uh,
escape the winter here and
yeah,
just like go see them. So it's nice
cool.
to have family there, but I definitely love living. Like this feels like home to me right now.
In Alexandria. That's a city in
Yeah,
Egypt.
Alexandria. Yeah,
Alexandria,
I know.
Washington.
Yeah.
Cool.
How long have you been in Nicaragua?
It's been 6 weeks. No, wait. Uh, yeah, kind of the beginning of July I came. And I should be here until January if everything goes well. It's great to be down
Wow.
here because it's like, because I don't know anybody here, it makes it really easy to like
Mm,
focus on building and networking and stuff like that. Because yeah, when I'm at
yeah.
home, there's always friends and family that are like, "Oh, come out, it's a beautiful day," and blah blah blah, and you're just like, you know, I'm from Toronto, so like
Okay.
if you want to spend time with somebody in Toronto, it takes like an hour and a half each way to like get to them and to coordinate.
Yeah.
Probably like New York's probably New York. Everybody's really close, relatively speaking. But yeah, we live on the west side of Toronto, and it's a bit of a hike to get downtown. And everybody, of course, wants to meet
Yeah.
downtown, and it's convenient for the people who live downtown. But like 1 in the morning when you got to go home, it's like the west side.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, I've been to Toronto once, but I feel like I need a redo because it rained the entire time I was there,
yeah,
and I still got to do things that I was like, "Oh, it's just so beautiful." It's like a clean New York.
it
And
is. I
so
call it.
that
I joke that it's New York with a seatbelt.
yeah. So wait, Rick, are you a full like digital nomad? Like you don't
Yeah,
have like Toronto's
I
your
have no
home,
things.
but not.
I have no things or stuff
Oh,
or places to put those things and stuff that I don't have. I in 2014, I kind of sold all my stuff and took a job on the West Coast, and I didn't really put any roots down there, and I ended up van
okay.
lifing. I bought a van instead of like paying like it was like $3,000 for rent or $3,000 for a van. I was like, I can park a van at Whistler or on Vancouver Island. I can't park in an apartment there, and 1 month versus forever is a pretty good comparison. So, yeah, it
Yeah.
was a really unique experience. It was like the first time I had kind of let go of conformity in a way, and
Mm,
uh, and I was living at the Spanish banks basically every night. I could switch it up. You could park it anywhere overnight. When Vancouver has three like ski resorts, like just on the cusp of the North Shore there, and
yeah.
so yeah, you could park it at the top of a mountain, and just like spend your evening overlooking the city, and it's pretty magical.
Nice.
They have like, yeah, I was at the Spanish banks most nights because there's lots of space there, and it's there's other van lifers there. There's maybe always like a dozen other vans that are around, so you kind of have a little bit of a community that you can feel safe around. And there's like
Nice.
million dollar houses behind you, and they probably are like, rabble rabble. But they don't, they're also West Coasters, so they probably also have combis, and they're just like, I'm just gonna get out of here while these van life hippies are here. And I was making good money. I was doing like remote contracts, and it went all in my pocket ultimately. And
Yeah.
yeah, it actually was like it was how I found remote year initially, because this was in like 2014, 2015. I started I wanted to have an office, but I wouldn't like get myself an office. So I was actually planning on building a co-work space. And so I started like researching
Mm,
co-works. This was way before WeWork, like way before everybody went remote. But like if I'm gonna have something,
yeah.
it's gotta be a business, right? It's gotta be something that can sustain itself, because it's not gonna I'm not interested in paying out of pocket. And so I started talking to people
Yeah.
in my network who might be interested in like partnering up with me. And in
Mm-hmm.
doing that research, I found let me check my mic sounds good, yeah. I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
gonna
you
double
sound
check.
perfect. I want my
Okay.
mic to sound like yours.
Because sometimes when you change your headphones, it's like it assumes the headphones, and the headphones sound terrible. You would know if it was not the
Oh.
microphone. So yeah, in doing that research, like remote year started popping up in my Instagram feed. Like every 4 posts or 6 posts or something was, that girl sitting, probably in like Lisbon or something over on a balcony looking over the city, and I was like, "What is this?" And yeah, their demographic, specs were pretty on point with me because it was like the perfect time for me to do something like that. And it was very early. Like the first group hadn't even finished yet when they were getting into my my radar or whatever. And yeah, I did a couple interviews with Emily Moyer. I think
Oh
was in the first
yeah.
group. And
Yeah.
yeah, I found myself in Magellan in group 4. And yeah, May 2016, it was like about 18 months of van lifing. I parked the van in Vancouver and I jumped on a plane. And before I knew it, I had an apartment in Spain. I was like, yes, let's do this. It's quite the dichotomy from
Amazing.
going from a van life to, a
No.
big family of 75 digital
Yeah.
nomads and a 3-bedroom apartment in Valencia. I was like, all right, let's go.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. And what do you do that allows you to be like a full nomad now?
So I've been coding since I was a kid, web since I was a
Okay.
teenager, and I've been an entrepreneur since like 2000 was the first time that I, just started making money on my own. In high school, I had a bunch of friends who were like musicians, and
Okay.
we would offer like a DJ like dance party. They would have 2 like rock sets, so they would have like live music for these kids. They had like 30 or 40 songs that they made. Like we didn't do covers or anything, but then they would give us a playlist of songs, and I would download them. I had a computer. I was like I've always been an audiophile, and so yeah, we just put together this experience, and we would get hired for like the school dance, like the spring dance, the graduation dance, or whatever. And we would show up with all our gear. They had all their gear. I had all my gear. I would plug into their sound system, and we would throw a little party for 3 hours. And yeah, we made $250 each, a pop. So it's like $50 each. There was 5 of us, and yeah, once we did one, like all the school boards, like all the schools are connected, right? So it's like you get your foot in the door with
Yeah.
one, and before you know it, we had 10 gigs, and yeah, we started making money on our own. I made them a website. I'm a web developer, web designer, coder, software engineer. And
Mhm.
yeah, then other bands started asking me to make them websites, or DJs, or whoever, and I started charging like $500 to make a website. And yeah, that was all before post secondary.
Wow.
So so I was coding and building stuff for a handful of years before I even got into post secondary. So I could have taught my first year. And yeah, I made my first web shop in 2003 with some friends from
Mhm.
elementary school. And yeah, I never really needed a job. I've taken jobs because it de-risks your life a little bit. I've never been much of a salesperson, and but yeah, I've always been building stuff, and eventually, that continuous improvement and investment in yourself, it starts to pay out eventually.
Yeah.
And yeah, um
That's really cool.
yeah.
That's a cool life. I started remote year just this year. So this I'm
Okay.
going on my second 1 month trip in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, September
Okay.
1st. I'm going to Valencia actually.
Hey,
So
nice.
yeah, I'm excited. My first one was in Croatia, but I
Hmm.
I'm
I did Croatia.
single. I have a job that allows me to be remote. Well, be remote with some restrictions. I don't have a job right now that allows me to do what you're doing, which is
Hmm.
just live overseas. But
Mhm.
I launched my business because my goal in the future is to have my business be my main source of income, so then I can have all the flexibility to just
Mhm.
live wherever, because that would be I like the idea of having a home base to come
Yeah.
back to, but I definitely want to travel a lot more
Yeah.
than what I am right now. So I'm just like testing the waters with remote year right now.
Well, yeah, remote year. Well, when I did it, you had to do the year. There was only one product, right? You
For
jumped on
12.
yeah, you jumped on board, and it was a big commitment. But that taking that leap, it comes with a lot of It's like, uh, our leader made a kind of a comment about it being like a travel MBA. You like learn how to travel and be
Yeah.
a be a traveler and not a tourist. And it's true in a way, because there's a lot of things that you have to kind of confront in your personality when you're traveling with the same people for 12 months, that you don't get the same experience when you're doing it for 1 month.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like a vacation, and you're just there with other people. But when
Yeah.
you're there with the same people for 12 months, like, there's a lot of things that kind of float to the surface, and you figure out who's real and who's not. And it's a transformative experience if you can commit yourself to
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Sounds like the real world. What you just said, like it's
It,
literally
it
like
was a little bit. We joked about recording it and making it a reality show, which it would have been entertaining, no doubt.
yeah.
We had a lot of fun. But yeah,
Oh.
there were also a lot of dramas, and I mean, for us, we were the first group in 9 out of our 12 cities. And so, when you're the first group in a city, then there's a lot of like little things that get overlooked in preparation of you getting there. And it's just like all of a sudden everybody's complaining. Imagine having 70 people going, my toilet doesn't work,
Yeah.
you know, or the AC is off, or the Wi-Fi doesn't work, or whatever. And I'm sure our our leads really, had their work cut out for them.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like so when I did the 1 month in Croatia, I was traveling with people who were in a 4 month journey. So by the
Hmm.
time there were only like two new people from the 1 month, and they were so like tired, and I could already tell things like had happened. And so I was like, why do they seem like they don't want to be here? And
Hmm.
it was because they had already been traveling together. And for
Yeah.
me, I
Were
think
they on there? Which month
I
were they on? Were they on the
they were
last
only
month?
in their no, they were on
Oh.
their second month, but
No.
there was already interesting
Yeah.
dynamics happening.
Yeah, we always said that the third month was like the hump. You have to get over the third hump. And so it's like, if you do a 4 month program, you do kind of start getting that same experience that you get in a 12-month program, because of that hump. But yeah, month 12, you're probably just getting people like frustrated, you're like
Yeah.
a little bit of clash, because like I say, like, you learn a lot about yourself, because we have this tendency to, like, put our like the best versions of ourselves forward, and
Oh yeah.
it is so tiring to have to do that 24 hours a day. And imagine
Yeah.
having done it for 30 days already, and now you're in the new spot, and you're like in survival mode, and you have to figure out where the laundromat is, and where the grocery store is, and where to
Mm.
buy your beers, and what bars do you like, and what bars don't you like, and which neighborhood to go in, and which neighborhoods to avoid. We go into this little bit of a survival mode. And then you also have this facade that you've been carrying around. It's just like, oh, how can you
Yeah.
survive this? So it's just like, you got to drop the walls super fast to just allow yourself to be vulnerable and just like be authentic. And we were early, so we definitely affected the code of conduct, that the company uses. A couple of things that The people who dropped out quickly, they dropped out because they were obviously the inspiration for the new addendums to the code of conduct. But you know, it's you see something like that, and you just like some people, they just create this expectation of what it's going to be, and
Yeah.
the reality is it's not always that. And the marketing doesn't really sell all the things that it gives you. Like the value that you take away from it is not in the marketing. And if you just take it
Mm.
for what you see in the marketing, you're gonna have uh, you're gonna at some point you're gonna realize, oh, this isn't what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we lost 5 people per month for the first 4 months, and then after that, we were over the
Mm.
hump. We were family. We were going through the trials and tribulations together. Even though maybe it's like well, I said it yesterday. I was talking to Gert yesterday. It's a dysfunctional. No matter how dysfunctional it is, you're a family, So
Yeah. You get so close. And I think it's like you have to be accountable for your experience too. That's one thing that I learned even in just 1 month, because they create this community for you, but
yeah,
and you can follow the same rules as everyone else and go to the same events and activities, but it's what you put in. Like you get out
yeah,
what you put in at the end of the
yeah.
day. Like
It's
when you were
community
talking about, yeah, when you were talking about bringing down your walls, I feel like for me it's actually the opposite. And maybe
to
what
put
I
them
need
up.
to work on.
I
Yeah, I
need
need to put them
boundaries.
up.
Yeah, but
No,
that's healthy
because
too. That's healthy too.
yeah, I tend to be like super like first conversation, like tell me about your trauma. Like tell me about all of your deeper secrets. I don't like small talk, so I'm just like, let's
You might
just
as
get to
well.
know each
You might
other.
as well because people are gonna find out anyway.
Yeah.
By through your activities. If you're just like disappearing in the middle of the night, or you're all
Yeah.
at a bar, and then all of a sudden so and so is gone, and the next day you have
Yeah.
to show up and be like, you can't just be like, hi. Or
Yeah.
maybe you can. We were very accepting of Irish exits. We called them. Sometimes you just gotta go. We'll see you
Yeah.
tomorrow. You don't have to say bye to everybody. It's hard to say bye to 70 people. That's a lot of
It's a
work.
lot of people.
That's an investment of like another hour. It's like a minute
Yeah.
per person. That's too much. That's too much. I'm Irish today. Later.
So wait, are you still doing so Nicaragua, is that are you doing that on do you do like hybrid, some things with remote year and some things with
No,
yourself?
no. I've just doing my own thing since then.
Okay.
I stopped in, when was it? In May of 2017. I went back home for a hot minute. Had to get my like license, some like identifications figured out,
Mm-hmm.
and I think my driver's license was expired and my health card. Not that I need them, but they're good for ID. Like you can't be traveling
Yeah.
without them. And yeah, in the fall of 2017, I got into the like a seed group for Startup Chile, for a startup that I was founding. And so I spent 6 months in Chile. And then after Chile, I went back to Europe, and I did Germany, I did Austria, I did a little bit of ski bumming in Austria. And I ended up in Switzerland for a month, in Winterthur. And then I went back to Canada for a bit. And I got back in the van. I drove the van across Canada, did a 3 month across Canada van trip.
Mm-hmm.
And most of it in BC, because I mean, Saskatchewan and Manitoba, enough said. Not really anything interesting going on there. It's mostly like uninhabitable land, because it's not rugged in like a rocky sense. It's just like it's barren, there's nothing there. Which it's beautiful in a sense, but it's not very entertaining.
Okay.
And yeah, I left my van back at my like a friend's house. and I jumped back on a plane, I believe. Yeah, I started another venture. I went back to Europe, East Coast or Eastern Europe. It's not a coast. I guess it is a coast. There's the Black Sea there. But yeah, for the next 5 years, I would build. Hey, I would build a. I would build a company with some co-founders. What are you complaining about?
Peluche needs some love.
Um, yeah, and I never really landed a visa, unfortunately, despite all my efforts to get a European, a blue card or just like a working visa, a Class D visa or whatever it is. And so I was doing 90 days in, 90 days out. So I was into Bulgaria, and then I would go to Romania, and then I would go back to Bulgaria, and I would go to Greece, and then I would go back to Bulgaria, and then I would go to, I did some time in Turkey, I did some time in Serbia, did some time in Croatia. So I got a really good sense for the, southeastern Europe.
Hmm.
And yeah, built that out for 5 years, kind of lived that way. I went to Hong Kong for 5 months. We did 3 months in Thailand, doing another accelerator. We took our company to an accelerator in Kopangang, which was pretty cool. And then yeah, in last year I went back to Canada. My family, getting old, lost my grandmother,
Oh,
and
so sorry.
yeah, my mom's sick again, and so she's struggling with that. And yeah, I mean, I just can't be there. Like, I don't have a place really to go, and there's only so much time that you could spend with your friends and family before they're like, "Why are you still here?" I'm like, "I don't know." So yeah,
how how do you manage? So when I think of that life, I think on paper it sounds really exciting, and I'm sure it's been so exciting.
it's
And this is,
go
yeah.
ahead.
What did you
I
say?
alre-
Is it not?
no, no, no. It's like my first instinct to this is just like the grass is always greener, right?
Yeah,
Like you
no,
trade
but
you trade one luxury for another, so.
right. But how do you manage? So I'm an introvert, right? And even
Mhm.
doing remote year, I was like, oh gosh, how am I going to handle being around people for a month? Because I need my alone time. But I actually loved it. And when I came back, I
Yeah.
missed the community.
Mhm.
But I could also, I'm an introvert, but I also like having access to my friends and the people who know me well. And so I've always wondered for people who lead this kind of life, how you manage loneliness, and also, as like, I love connecting with people, but like I
Yeah.
said, I go deep in person really quickly, but I
Yeah.
don't know, like, how doable is it to make genuine connections when you're not
It's
somewhere
easy.
very long?
It's
It's
easy.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to get out of the house. You can't just sit in the house and expect to find those things. But I've been a very community focused person for a long time. In 2009, I would say I first started getting into communities, and at first it was tech. So it was really because I was a tech person for 15 years by that point. And so it was like JavaScript meetups and Ruby meetups, and so you build your community out that way.
Hmm.
And I'm somebody, I have little shame. I'm not opposed to speaking my mind and saying something, even if it's to a complete stranger. Like, I actually, more recently, I actually have one rule to life is try and speak to somebody you don't know every day. Speak to a stranger, every day.
Hmm.
Just in stepping outside of that, like, that's just like a personal boundary we have. Like, you, every time you pass somebody, you could be engaging in a conversation with them,
Hmm.
right?
That's
And
true.
so I don't make it weird. It's usually something that we're both doing. Like, for here it's super easy. I have the dog. I'm going to the beach every day at low tide. Either you have a dog, it's easy to shoot the shit about dogs, or the dog's
So
owner
cute.
is a woman, right? And so he goes up to every woman. Is like, "Are you my mommy?" And I'm just like, "Ah, he's such a player. Don't give him your phone number. I do have opposable thumbs, though. If you want to sync up with him later, I can probably make that happen. I just like open your mouth and let the words come out. And sometimes you make a good impression, sometimes you don't. But it's if you let it be part of the fun, it's fun. You know,
Mm.
and you never know who you're going to meet and how you're where in each other's lives you're crossing paths. Sometimes you're meant to meet those people, and how many
Mm.
times do you walk past a person who could change your life and you don't even know it, and you won't because you didn't even say hello. you know
Yeah. Yeah. How do you maintain connections though when you're traveling so much?
Social media. I have a couple communities that I'm building, so professionally it's kind of easy. But yeah, things like this make it easy too, because if we're talking about remote year, then I can just throw it at the remote year people and be like, hey, I'm thinking of you, let's do this sometime, let's catch up. But yeah, I've been in remote year for a long time now. It's been 8 years. And so there's always someone somewhere who has done the
Yeah.
program. Like here, there's a couple people in Popoyo who are doing the work in Wi-Fi or something like that, where they've bought this property or something, and they're doing kind of a digital nomad thing. And I know they're there. If I need that energy, I can commit the 2 hours. But you know, I uh, you know I always find a way to make make my way into somebody's ear. It's I don't know. It's just maybe natural for me because I've always been kind of nomadic,
Mhm.
and yeah, if I need that, I can go after it. But I like me time. I have lots of things that I need to do and things that I'm building, and I'm never bored. I always have something that I could work on, and
Yeah.
just having something to take action through. I don't get lonely because I got something to do. I think loneliness comes on when we're just sitting there in our own mind. And if I have something in front of me that I want to accomplish, then I'm just focusing on that thing that I'm accomplishing.
Mm.
And yeah, I think just taking action on something and having something to take action on, is probably the best tool that there is to fight anxiety and depression and loneliness and all these dark energies that are natural for people to have. And I think that if you just have a way to not like fall into those, if you have some kind of tool in life to keep you from falling into those, then you don't, because you're wired your brain in such a way that you're not like those chemicals aren't like seeping into your your existence. It's like I got this to do. I got that. There's so many things that you have to do a day just to survive. I have to go to the grocery store. I like to cook, so I'm making certain things. I'm thinking about what I need, and tackling the list. And it's like I just don't have time to be lonely. You know, it's
Hmm.
like a luxury. you know, which maybe that's terrible. It's just like, but I honestly think that who I think Elvis said is like everybody needs something to do, someone to love, and something to look forward to. And I think I have all those things just in myself, not in a like
Mm.
narcissistic way, but
No, that's
but
beautiful.
yeah, it's just like I have I have a trajectory, and I'm not standing still in my life, and I'm always in a new place. There's always like an opportunity to explore. I can just do a different route in the city and like find something new. And when you're in the same place for a while, people start recognizing I'm 2 meters tall. It's like people know that I'm not a local. And if I sit down at a bar, there's three people will show up one after the next and be like, hey, what are you doing here? What are you, if you tell them that you've been traveling for 8 years, they're like, oh, really? What the heck do you do that? Don't you get lonely? Well, I'm 2 meters
Do
tall.
you
Everybody's like, do you play basketball? That's like the number one question.
I
No.
have a random question. Do you
Sure.
like talking to elderly people? Because that's what I
I,
love to do when I
I love
travel.
it. Yeah,
They have all the wisdom.
yeah, yeah. They have amazing stories. I could talk to anybody forever. Like
Yeah, yeah,
you just have to let conversation is just like a creative flow thing. And as long
yeah,
as you're not boring, and like not open to having that conversation, some people aren't. And I'm perfectly fine sitting there in silence. It's not awkward for me. It's just a moment. But yeah, my neighbor here is this older guy. He's uh
hmm
he's in his 70s, and I never really talk to him while we're here, but we sometimes end up at the same bar.
Oh.
And because there's one place here called Theo Milton's, and they have a happy hour between 1 and 5. It's like the cheapest beer that you can get in town. Theo Milton is he's a little bit of an alcoholic. He's always half in the bag when I show up at 1. I'm like, what have you been doing, Theo? What have you been up to? Oh, I can smell what you've been up to, buddy. Um, but yeah, my neighbor here, his name's Michael. He's an elderly gentleman. He rips around town in this 4-wheeler. It's a very small town. Have you ever been here?
No, I've never been to
No.
Nicaragua. No, I
It's
would love to though.
it's like 4 streets deep from the beach and 4 streets across. Kind of is like the center of town, and so you don't really need a vehicle, like a real vehicle. Lots of people are on dirt bikes and on 4-wheelers, and they have those like 4-seater kind of golf carty things that are like off road. I
hmm
don't know what they're called, but yeah, he rolls up to the bar in his 4-wheelers. I always make a joke about him drinking and driving, and it's just like it's so funny, And he I don't remember where he's from. He's from somewhere in like the Midwest U.S., and he likes it here because you can live here for under $1,000 per month, basically, with your rent and your food and like everything that you could want to do. And so he used to live in Costa Rica. That was his go-to, but then now Costa Rica is getting like kind of gentrified,
Mm.
and so everything's much much more expensive. And so he came to Nicaragua because it's like how Costa Rica was 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I mean, he's an open book of tales, and yeah, if you raise a glass with him, he'll happily shed some light on his experience.
Oh my
So
gosh, I love that. Yeah, I remember when I was in Puerto Rico, I like to sit at the bar instead of like at a table because then everyone
mhm,
comes in and they sit at the bar, right?
mhm.
And this elderly woman came in and she told me like her whole life story, and it was so fascinating. Just there's just something so pure but also so wise in someone who's lived a much longer life. And yeah, I feel like I could see Puerto Rico through her eyes in a way because of the
Yeah,
experiences that she's had. Not to say that younger people don't have like a unique perspective, but it's just so different um when you're talking to someone who's older.
yeah.
Is there a place that has your heart out of like the million places that you've traveled to?
The
No?
places I haven't been yet.
Oh, that's a perfect answer. But don't give me the perfect answer. There has to be a way.
No, I'm
No.
just like I'm kind of a culture geek.
Mm,
I really like exploring in general, and part of the joy of it is being sent into the unknown, knowing that there's new stories and new experiences to be had. And
mm,
it's really easy to talk me into going to somewhere that I haven't been yet, you know? there are places that I would happily go back to. Like I love Vietnam and Thailand,
Mhm.
just because it's so different than North America. And there's a few places in Canada that I enjoy going to, but it's like it's nostalgia. It's not like I actually like that place. It's the experiences that I had there that are attractive to me, and those people are
Mhm.
gone and those places aren't accessible anymore, and that's probably where I feel loneliness, you know when I go
Oh.
home and all those things are not there anymore. And if I'm
Mm.
exploring new places, then I'm never encountering those thoughts.
Mm.
So maybe it's a little bit of a it's it's my psychological issues are there, and so by traveling all the time, I just don't have to face that. Maybe.
Yeah. Do you feel like your travel experiences have been so for me, I feel like I've traveled to a lot of places like outside of remote year just in my life, and obviously I
Hmm.
wasn't born here. But I feel like sometimes I have a hard time remembering like the places that I went to or like the sightseeing things that I did. But I what I remember about my travels are the people that I
Yeah.
met or like the
Hmm.
experiences. And that's what makes I don't know, that's what makes travel enjoyable for me when I can
Hmm.
share it with someone. Although I have traveled by myself, but do you feel like is it the I know you mentioned you like the learning about new cultures, but do you think the people from the places that you visited can make or break your experience?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if breaking it is possible, because if I have one negative experience, I'm not going to blame the whole country for it. I'm
Mm.
just going to be like, oh, I ran into some dick in a bar in Serbia. He wanted to fight me because I was from North America. And
Wait,
I
did it
don't
actually
blame.
happen?
Yeah,
Oh
but
no.
the only time I ever like almost got in a fist fight with somebody was because I was in Serbia and I was in North America. And he
Oh
wasn't
my
angry. He wasn't
gosh.
angry at me. He was angry at North America.
Okay,
He's
North
pissed.
America.
He's pissed about NATO. And I'm the biggest guy in the room. And one plus one is two. Let's go. Um, so yeah, I mean that's just history. I don't take things like that personally. And there's so many other good experiences that you don't. It's easy to just
Mm.
whatever, buddy. Keep walking. I
Yeah,
was just
that
walking
makes
by him,
sense.
and I was just trying to get past him. It's a tight bar, and I'm a big guy. I put my hand on him so he knew I was there. He was like, "What are you touching me for? You want to fight?" It's just like, "Sorry, sir. I was trying to be kind and considerate." You know, this is
That
what we
is
do
so
in
scary.
Canada. No, well, I'm a big guy. Like I don't
Are
get
you really
scared.
2 meters
I'm
tall?
2 meters tall. Yeah,
Okay, at the end of the call, I'm gonna ask you.
yeah, yeah. Stand up. Yeah, people look up to me. I don't mean to look down on you, but I'm going to.
Hey, where did your so you keep talking about like all the ventures that you've had. Where did this entrepreneurial bug come from?
Oh, my dad's a
Well,
tech
for me.
entrepreneur. Yeah.
Oh,
He's
okay.
not uh he's not a very personable person. He doesn't like people, and so he can't work for other people. He's never been the
Okay.
kind of person to have a job or a boss. And so yeah, I grew up thinking that it was natural for like a bunch of sweaty geeks to just hang out in a basement and build tech companies. And so yeah, I thought it was normal and common, and it wasn't until like I was in my mid 20s that I was like, oh shit, people have jobs. You Obviously, knowing that the store clerk he's got a job is just like I've
Yeah.
never really had to do that. I could count the number of jobs that I've done outside of technology on probably my hands. And sometimes I actually go out of my way to do a job that I've never done before. Like last year, I was a lumberjack, which is hilarious as a Canadian, giant Canadian. I was just like, I wanted to be away from my computer. I went out to Nova Scotia, and I have, in Nova Scotia, they have the hurricanes, right? So there's like tons of fallen over trees everywhere. And I had a friend who was like, who had a contract to like fix up this one, native sanctuary, like a forest sanctuary. And and yeah, she invited me to join them, and it was like, it was a little bit more rugged than most people probably would be into. But it was an absolute joy to disconnect and be away from my computer and offline and in the forest, this like super old forest that it has thousands of years of like history, and you just like feel differently in there, and the ground's like it's not attached to the ground, so the wind comes in, you're just like, "Whoa." And yeah, we built bridges, we built some boardwalks. I was literally building bridges instead of figuratively
Yeah.
building
Yeah.
them. And yeah, there I wasn't close to a kitchen, so I couldn't like, I lost a lot of weight. I was carrying lumber around all day, ripping around on four-wheelers. Like, it was good, it was healthy, to disconnect. And what things like that do is it opens your eyes to new problems, as a technology person.
Yeah.
It's like you have to get away from the desk to understand what your customers' problems are.
Yeah.
And for me, for having done technology for so long, every once in a while I'll happily take a job that I've never done before. The thing is that I won't look for those jobs, but if they present themselves to me, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. I'm a big guy, I can help a lot of people do a lot of things just because of my size. I don't have to be skilled at anything, you know, just being a brute. And yeah, so every once in a while I'll take a job I've never done before, because it's another networking opportunity. It's another pool of people that you would never have met if you say no. And yeah, like I say, it was super healthy, like mentally and physically, to do that for 2 months. And it allowed me to kind of reset, because when I left my last company, it was actually really, really hard. It was really hard to let it go.
Mm.
But it was the right thing to do. And it's allowed me to kind of do the things that I'm doing now. Like before, a few weeks ago, I wouldn't be comfortable having a conversation on a microphone with somebody I don't really know, you know because you have to put it out there. There's like a vulnerability of doing something like
Mm.
this that I've only recently grown into being comfortable with. You know, at my last business, there was a component where we had to be super transparent about what we were doing, because the market wasn't really in our favor, and we needed to show people that we were committed and continually improving the products that we were building. And so through that, we did a kind of a podcast. It was like an update. It wasn't really a dialogue, just like us
Mhm.
founders, and we would talk about what we did in the last month and what we're going to do next. A little bit like a stand-up session, but for our
Yeah.
community. And so through that experience, it became easy to look into the micro or into the camera and talk on the microphone. And it's really easy when it's not contrived. It's
Yeah.
like we would go in there. We didn't really know what we were going to talk about until we started talking. We had a few things, like it's easy to talk, like to highlight what the highlights are, like in the last month. Oh, I released this, I finished this feature. Oh, this was buggy for a while and we fixed it. Our community's this size now. And it makes it really easy to have these conversations when you're just kind of talking about what you've done and what you're going to do, because you kind of like, you're setting expectations for the next one. And
Yeah.
then when you show up in the next one, you're like, we did that thing we said we were going to do. That builds confidence, in our community. And we had a really great community that we built. And unfortunately, we just didn't hit enough wins for it to be something that I could continue doing. and
Mm.
yeah, but that, I mean, the experience of doing all that stuff and actually kind of going for the moonshot and missing, you're still amongst the stars, so to speak.
Yeah.
uh and
I never would have figured that it's something that you didn't feel comfortable, because you felt like you look like a natural and you have a
yeah,
radio voice.
Thank you. I've honestly always toyed with the idea of doing voice acting because I'm a pretty
You
animated person as
should.
well. I need an agent. If you're an agent, uh, hit my DMs up. See, I again, if
You should
it's one of those
totally.
things, if somebody was like, Would you like me to represent you?" I'd be like, "Fuck yeah, let's go." But
Yes. You-
it's not something that I'm gonna explore, because there's just I got like I say, like I got my own I got my direction figured out. I'm not a lost soul. I know exactly what I'm good at and what I want to accomplish and who I want in my life, and it's really easy for me to just grind away on that because I know that in the long term, every day that I show up for that is just like it's like a little bit closer to that. It's something that always moves. It's a moving target, right? But you can take 30 days to do it, or you can take one day. Like Elon Musk says, you can give yourself 30 days to clean your house, and it'll take you 30 days. But if you say I'm going to clean the house in an hour, you can get it done in an hour. And
Right.
I just take that energy into every day, knowing, yeah, this sucks right now, but by tomorrow it's going to suck less, and then the
Oh, that's
next
a
day
good
comes.
way to look at it.
the
I should put it on my
next,
wall with all my
this,
inspirational
this,
quotes.
this was one of our, like our mantras or whatever at the first product company that I worked on or I worked at. We would go into our weekly meetings, and it was like our objective in this room is just to make things suck less, and so
Mm.
perfectionism is nothing that I've ever strived for. I'm always progress over perfection. And yeah, the reality is that if you can make things 1% better every day, that starts adding up over time. Time is money. It's not just money that is cumulatively beneficial. Time
Yeah.
also adds up that way.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love the idea. I'm trying to move away from that because I am a perfectionist. So, and so then I go into analysis paralysis because I'm
Yeah.
launching my podcast this fall and I've recorded a handful of episodes and I would, it took me 3 years to actually do this because I was like,
Hmm.
who's going to listen to me? Also, I have an accent, so I'm going to have to articulate what I'm saying. And I hate
Oh, you're
that.
doing fine. You're doing fine. I have an accent too. Sound
Yeah.
like a Canuck. Come on. I'm
Well, no.
barely pronouncing all the words,
You
I'm
can
definitely
barely
dropping some
speak.
consonants, but it's fine. This is the thing. It's like those are all things that are part of your character, and if
Yes.
if if somebody who's listening is a fan of yours, they don't, that's what is making you unique, and if somebody
Yeah.
doesn't like you because your accent, just fuck that person. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's like
Fuck them.
1 in 8 billion people. It's like, okay, well, fuck off. Stop listening. Go on to the next one. God.
Don't subscribe.
Don't subscribe. Yeah, don't subscribe. Don't read. I put that I shared my newsletter in the chat. Are you in the underground Slack?
No.
We have an underground Slack for remote year.
Wait.
I don't.
Like a dark web situation?
Top secret. I'll send you the
Oh,
link
no.
after. You can
Yeah.
join
Send me
us.
the link. I don't want to be left out.
You don't want the FOMO? Yeah, no, I said
Yeah.
that the other day because I started my newsletter too because I've wanted to write for a long time, and I've been reading Mark Manson lately again, and he
Hmm.
wrote that The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and it's just like I'm just oozing it right now. It's just like
Mm.
I don't care if my writing's good or bad. I know that if I want it to get good, I just have to start. And if you can just get over like what you think other people are gonna think, then and just start releasing it,
Yeah.
you'll never get. What did they say in Adventure Time? There's this cartoon called Adventure Time, and he says in one episode he's like, to be kind of good at something, you gotta first kind of suck at it. you know. And so
That's true.
e-
That's
every time I write something, my only ambition is that it's a little bit better than the last time, you know. And
mm,
sometimes I'm venting and ranting, and sometimes I'm like, there's a topic, but a lot of times I'm not actually thinking about what I'm writing. I'm just like so in a creative flow. It's like dancing, I'm just like, this is the fingers are doing the talking. And it's a little bit snarky, it's a little bit funny. I hope it's enlightening, I'm aiming for entertaining and informative. So there's always
yeah.
like something that is a little. Entrepreneurship can be a lonely and overwhelming journey. I started my first company in 2003, more than 20 years ago. Most of the challenges that an entrepreneur faces, I can deeply relate to. The tough conversations, the hard decisions, the setbacks, the personal sacrifices, the feelings of isolation, the mental exhaustion, the anxiety. Being a company leader means that persistent problems eventually end up in your lap. And as a founder, those problems are everywhere. When the mud hits the fan, guess who everyone looks to for answers? The issues often seem to have obvious solutions in isolation, but they are less so in the context of a specific business, team, and stakeholder environment. And they usually come with decisions. Real decisions are hard because something's got to give. The stream of constant problems and decisions can be exhausting. Eventually, it will reveal personal questions that are nagging below the surface. Questions closely related to our hopes, desires, fears, needs, or beliefs. Why am I doing this and what for? The initial passion is gone. By now, it feels like a constant rat race to hit milestones. Is this what I'm to be doing for the next few years? How do I grow, transform, and build a life of meaning? On that lonely journey, it's hard to find somebody to trust and to speak with openly. And yet, there's hardly anything more effective than taking moments of reflection, structuring challenges, and prioritizing well for the business, but also for your personal journey. That's why we're building a new fractional CXO community called the Golden Ticket Club, a way for them to be a part of a kind of council of peers. Having someone to call on and doing regular check ins helps to talk things through, make better decisions, and to keep calm during the storm. That's also why we have built this new kind of business model that we're calling Fractional Leadership as a Service, an equity collective that allows fractionals to have more agency, to have a platform to grow into, and to be a part of something bigger than themselves. But ultimately, to help solopreneurs see their dreams become a reality. At Rad Studio, we help lift you from the top instead of pumping you up from the bottom. In the next few weeks, on Mondays, I'll be doing AMAs to talk to fractionals, to introduce them to this community, and to show them how to potentially join our equity collective. Our plan is to launch a new product every year. We have 3 products in the equity collective now that have 23 open seats, and we're looking for 8 leaders for each one. We hope that we can prove this business model with some really excellent leaders. Stay tuned. And we're back from our sponsors. Thanks so much for listening. I will actually put an advert there for my business in the middle, because why not? It's 2 clips, it just like
Yes.
it's a natural segue. It's decided by Jitsi. So shout out Jitsi for making it easy on me. And
Wait, so you
yeah.
said you have a destination. What is it? Or is it top secret?
Like in what way? Like in
You were
life?
like, yeah, no, you were like, I'm not a lost soul. Like, I have a
Yeah.
destination. I know.
Yeah, I was speaking
Or direction,
figuratively.
not destination,
Yeah, yeah.
direction.
Yeah, yeah. Well, to have a direction, you need a destination.
Yeah,
It can.
that's
It's
right.
always it's always moving. Speed is velocity and direction. Um, I think that's
Is it
the
velocity?
formula. It's something like that. Um, Maybe it's velocity. No, anyways, I don't care. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm somebody who's building. I have a software company. I'm building a fractional multipreneur studio. Because I've spent a lot of years building companies, and they haven't worked out because a lot of times I'm trying to build them by myself, and I've learned over the years
Mm,
that that's not really a winning strategy. It's too much to take on by yourself to be the marketer and the storyteller and the creative and the tech guy and the CEO, and we live in a time where it's easy to be, it's more easier than ever to be all those things because we have AI and automation to kind of do the work for us while
yeah,
we're sleeping. Um, but yeah, you still need kind of somebody to champion all those things. And so the way I'm
yeah.
building my company is it's based on Kaizen, which is that continuous improvement idea, right? Just 1% every day. And then Ikigai for direction. Do you know Ikigai? Have you heard of this?
No.
Ikigai is so they're both Japanese philosophies. Um, and Kaizen is actually the foundation for a lot of tech processes, so like agile
Yeah.
and rapid application development and stuff like that. They're all based on this Japanese philosophy called Kaizen, and it's just a way to accomplish things fast, right? And so my thinking is that if you have a roster of fractional leaders who represent the 8 pillars of leadership: CEO, CTO, CMO, CCO, CFO, COO, yada yada yada, and they all commit 1 hour per day, you have 8 hours per day of work that's getting done instead of 8 hours of you grinding by yourself and trying to accomplish all those things probably poorly, right? Because you're not a CEO, you're not a CMO. Like for me, if I look at how much I can accomplish in a day, because I'm basically a one-man IT department, because I'm a front-end developer, I'm a back-end developer, I'm a project manager, I'm a product manager, I'm a integration specialist, I'm a DevOps person. I can be all of those things in a day, but my advantage is that I don't need to do all the communications that those people need to do so that they are all on the same page, right? I don't have to go
Mm,
into a big planning meeting. I can just sit here and be like, I want to accomplish that thing. And whether it's a front end task, integrating with a back end task, or integrating with an API, or adding things to the API, it's like when a front end developer needs something new from the API, they create a new task and it goes into the ether of the to dos, and you're at the whim of the API guy's time, and then you'll have to like add it to a planning sprint, and then everybody has to be like, okay, well, let's talk about this. What are we doing? What are we adding? What are we breaking? What are we not breaking? How can we do this? And there's like 50% of the process is just communication,
mm,
and I can just switch over to the API, add the thing, and then come back, and so just from that lack of need to like throw it into the process, I can accomplish a lot more in an hour than four people can,
mm.
because I can just quickly go do it and not have to wait for anybody's permission. you know
Wow.
and so my assumption, my hypothesis is that every leader, every well-oiled leader is kind of a one-man show of their department. Like you shouldn't, as a leader, necessarily be doing all the legwork, but you should have a breadth of knowledge that allows you to execute faster than a junior would. And obviously, that's how you get to that level, is because you probably went through the ropes and you've made all those decisions. It's like what's that saying, like the expert has failed more times than the novice has even tried. you know
Mm,
and so how do you leverage that experience? There's a lot of fractional leaders right now, or a lot of CXOs who are leaving their jobs because the money isn't worth it. It's like they're spending 40, 50, 60 hours a week working for somebody else, and they're making good money, but they're sacrificing everything else in their life,
Mm.
and their relationships and their health and their goals. They have like Ferraris in the garage that are getting dusty, and who wants to live that way? And so a lot of people are quitting, and what they're doing is they're trying to be fractional, whatever they're fractional
Mm-hmm.
CEO or fractional CMO. And all of a sudden, those people have to be entrepreneurs. They have to be marketing experts. They have to be storytellers. They have to, you're going to be a champion of one of those things. Like, you're going to kill it if you're a CMO, your marketing for your fractional agency is going to be good. But then you have to also be a salesperson, and you have to set up your
Mm-hmm.
technology, and you have to have your website, and you have to have your social media channels, and you have to figure out your content strategy. Well, the content strategy for a marketing person maybe is easy, but you can see it's like all of a sudden you have to do all the things, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a big leap, going from being somebody who has like an annual budget of $1 million to run your team, to all of a sudden having to do all that by yourself. And so yeah, my company is, it's kind of community based. I have two communities that I'm building. One of them is like a free WhatsApp group for like entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and mentors, from an experience I did once upon a time. And
Mm-hmm.
there's 90 people in there right now. I only had two people leave so far, so I think that's a
That's
win.
yeah, that's really good.
And it's really hard to create engagement because people are all, I think there's a lot of WhatsApp groups, and people just like, when they're free, like, it's, there's no barrier to entry. Anybody just shows up. And so it's hard to
Yeah.
build engagement in those people, and into those people, but into those channels as well, because you get lost again in the list of
Mm.
channels. But yeah, I mean, the way I do it is I'm just trying to be, uh, you know, a good example to everybody. So the way I do it is I have, in the announcement chat every day, I have like a little bit of an objective, like, meme Monday, or, Tuesday, share a song that inspires you or makes you,
Mm.
makes you want to work, or, what was Wednesday? I was like, what was it? Uh, way back Wednesday? No, I can't remember what it is. I just kind of make
Throwback
it up.
Wednesday.
Today was
Oh,
throwback
Throwback
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, it's like, I want to say Wine Wednesday, but it wasn't. It was more professional than Wine Wednesday. Although I did make a Wine Wednesday joke. Um, and yeah, on Fridays I do like pitch, like make a 1 minute pitch and share it in the channel and get feedback from people.
Hmm.
And so yeah, it's like you try and make it fun, but you also try and make it something that people are sharing information and knowledge and experience,
Yeah.
because that's where the value comes in. And then I have, just like in our channels, actually our channels inspire a lot of what I do there. I have like a shameless promotion channel,
Hmm.
and the energy there, I try and keep the dialogue down, because you don't want to hear ding 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 from the
Yeah.
channels all the time. And so
Yeah.
what I do is I encourage people to go to the, like, if you share a WhatsApp, a LinkedIn post, for example, like, don't congratulate them in WhatsApp. Go to the link, go into the comments, and say
Mm.
congratulations. Build the engagement in their
Yeah.
socials, because that's the real value. Sitting there and congratulating them one on one in a group chat is just going to annoy everybody. But if
Yeah.
if you drop that link in there, and 70 people go to it and like it and comment on it, the algorithm's going, what's this guy up to? Who's this? Hello, you're important,
Yeah.
and and that's the value, right? It's just like, there are some people who are just wallflowers, and it's just like, how do you get the wallflowers off the wall? You go up to them and be like, hey, hello, you know so it's a bit of a struggle to run a free group, but There's been a bunch of people who get into my DMs and they're like, "Oh, this is great. Oh, thank you. Do you know somebody who can help me do XYZ?" And then, when I have time for them, I I connect the dots for them. And that's like the least you can do for somebody when I've been starting businesses for 25 years. It's like, if I had 20 years ago somebody who could connect a couple dots for me at the right time with the right people, like, where would my life be now, right? And so,
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that when I can.
I Everything that you've touched on right now around community is so important. I just launched my career coaching business for Latinas 2 months ago,
Hmm.
and it was starting to feel really lonely because I was like, I don't have friends who are entrepreneurs. I don't know
Yeah.
who to go to, and I joined this community. It's for female entrepreneurs, and I also have a hard time spending money on things, spending money on myself sometimes. Not always, but I'm very financially responsible. And so I was like, oh, to get a membership here. But I went through the webinars and they did a really good job with their marketing and they brought in members. So I was like, okay, they bring the members and they're like, that
Hmm.
that can be you. And I was like, okay, maybe that can be me.
Hmm.
So I joined the community, and Rick, it's been like a life saver.
Yeah.
I'll post something in the community like, I'm new. I don't have a lot of people. I'm doing this on myself. Everything that you were talking, I'm doing the marketing, I'm doing the operations, I'm doing everything. And so I'll post a question and I'll have 10 responses within an hour of other women who have done it or they know someone who can help
Hmm.
me. And I didn't realize until now how important, like, how powerful communities can be, especially for
Hmm.
entrepreneurs, because you're all kind of lost. You're all kind of faking it until you make it,
Yeah.
especially if it's your new business and you
You're
just
all
need
peers. You're all
support.
suffering the same
Yeah,
problems in just like different contexts. And that's
exactly.
that's why I have the WhatsApp group, because I have all those people on LinkedIn, and you can't get into all their DMs and figure out what they
Yeah.
need, right? But if you have a channel where you can congregate in, naturally the people find you, right? My recommendation for that is, like, if you get a bunch of people from those groups, get them on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, you have a brand that you're building, right? And have, like,
Yeah.
the first layer is the free room, where you have to do a little bit of work. The free room is like, you don't sell in this layer, right? You
Hmm.
just drop all the value. You drop in 60% of, like, the value of your whole thing is just like in
Hmm.
the knowledge in that layer, right? And then naturally from that layer, people will start engaging with you, and it's through those engagements that you start selling, right? Because it's not really selling. You have like a you're It's easy to sell something to somebody when you know that what you're giving them is going to be valuable to them, right? It's different. Like,
Yeah.
some sales is manipulative, like you're just trying to make money off of them. But when you have
Yeah.
something that actually is valuable for them, it should make the conversation a lot easier for you, because whether they say yes or no, you can still walk away from it saying, fine, you don't want it. It's, I hope you can do well without it. This is what helped me, XYZ. And and it makes the experience a lot easier, right? Because maybe they're just, you can deploy empathy at that point. It's like, some people are going to say no,
Yeah.
and I always say that, like, if you make no part of the plan, it's like 80% of the people are going to say no to what I'm offering them, and only 20% of them are going
Mm.
to are going to take that next step. It makes it a lot easier to say no. Like, actually, you can look forward to the no. It's like, yes, I'm a little bit closer to the next yes,
Yeah.
and it makes it a lot easier to have that conversation, and then also, accept that no as not a failure, right? Because I think at first it becomes really easy to be like, oh, I'm getting rejected,
Yeah.
and
Oh
it's
man, the
it's not
rejection.
it's
It's
not
horrible.
it's not rejection at all. It's just like, you maybe could have communicated it better. You didn't sell it in the right way, and, like, every no is a kind of a lesson. There's a lesson in every no that you can take away from it, if you're watching it. Like when people, you can't always trust people's feedback because they don't always tell you exactly why. They'll maybe
Mm.
make a contrived example, but it might just like I woke up on the wrong side of the bed because my husband yesterday was a total dickhead, and I'm a brat today. And they're not going to tell you that. They're going to be like, I don't have money, or it's like, they'll just make up some little excuse, right? And so like, you can't really take any of that seriously, and you certainly shouldn't take it personally.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And so right now I'm going through this process and I'd like to pick your brain actually, where I had my what I thought was my unique value proposition, and now I'm actually working with a business coach because I'm reevaluating who I want my target client to be and
Hmm.
what the core of my services should look like. And it made me uncomfortable to even accept that because I thought and again, I'm a perfectionist, so I'm like, I should get it right the first time. And now I'm like, oh
No,
no,
it's a
there are gonna be
process.
so many
It's a
iterations.
process. Yeah, no, it's a
It's
process.
how have you handled that in your businesses? Like, have you been in those positions where like, this is what I like, let's say fractional leadership, this is what I want to offer, or like, did it evolve from other things that, or the other ideas or offers that you
Well,
initially had?
no, I mean, what I'm doing now is the same that I've always done. It just has a new name. You know, it's like
Oh, okay. So
because
it's been
like
a common thread.
I've always helped people build their technology. I haven't always been a leader. A leadership for me started in like 2015. Like through remote year, I started becoming more and more of a leader.
Hmm.
Through the experiences I had with other people in remote year who were leaders. And in 2018, I founded my first company as a CTO. I took on that role of a leader, and in that 5 years, I learned a hell of a lot about how to be a leader and what happens when you're a bad leader, and how to be a good leader, and how to get a team to be effective. But I've always been someone who fractionally works on something. I don't think I've ever been a consultant because I'm not somebody who tells you what to do. I'm somebody who does it with you. And I think that's the difference between leadership and consulting. Right?
Hmm.
Consultants just like say, oh, this has worked, this is a great strategy, you should implement this in your business, this is how you do it. But they don't do it for you. You have to do it. Right?
Yeah.
But a leader is there at the front of the pack, helping you carry the burden, and they champion that role. And so yeah, now I'm in the leadership position instead of just a fractional position. But fractional is like a term that has come up, it floated to the surface in the last few years. And when it came time to structure how I was going to do my business from now on, because obviously when I had my product company, I wasn't focused on having fractional services because I was all in on the business, right? I would put 60 hours
Hmm.
a week on the business because I thought that doing as much work as I possibly can would get more out of it in the long run. It turned out I just, had a toxic relationship with my dream, and it didn't matter how much energy I put into it. I was actually doing myself a disservice because I was setting a bar for everybody else to see. Oh, this is how much Rick outputs, and as soon as I wasn't in a position to output that much, it was like, oh, Rick's doing nothing, you know and that's completely untrue. So so yeah, when I left my company, I structured my pricing in a way that kind of made sense for fractionals. I wasn't about to commit my life, 5 years of my life, to somebody else's idea like I had done
Yeah.
before. I'm not taking equity anymore. So how do you help people who are bootstrapping without taking a big chunk of capital? Because like, when you're starting something, you can't do that. And so how do you defeat the chicken and the egg problem that everybody starts with? You need a product to get customers, and you need customers to get investment, and you need a product to get investment. And it's
Yeah.
everybody's kind of stuck in this loop where they're trying to make something happen and they can't. And so my idea was, if I work for you for an hour a day, it's slower progress, but in 6 months, after an hour a day, you can go from idea to MVP, and you can start
Mhm.
at bringing users into your product and having a foundation to to build your experience on top of. It's not going to be perfect, if you're a designer, if you have a UX design that I can work from, then it's going to be better than if I don't, but at the end of the day, my ambition is never to make that perfect thing. My ambition is to just keep the progress going forward. Progress over perfection. It's
Mm.
one of my mantras, because
So,
you could sit there and think about something forever, but I'm of the
yeah.
opinion that if you're sitting on something, it's the same as you not doing it at all. And so you've just like wasted that energy
Mm.
and that time and all those all that time you spend grinding on the idea. Like, that's not work. Thinking isn't work. Action is work.
Yes,
one
I'm
hour
learning to
one
make
hour of
decisions.
action 1 hour of action is way better than 10 hours of thinking,
Oh
you
yeah,
know because you can, if even if it sucks, it's like you still took steps forward. When you're climbing a mountain of 1,000 steps, like, you're not going to be at the top of the mountain in an hour. But
yeah,
if you start climbing it now, you're going to be closer to the finish line than you would be if you just waited at the bottom for the skies to be clear, or you know for whatever.
yeah. No, definitely. I'm learning to make decisions a lot quicker, like thoughtfully, but quicker than I
Mhm.
used to, and not
Mhm.
dwelling too much. Um, I think my thing is I just want to get things right. I think it's understanding
Yeah.
that it's going to take a while until it
Yeah.
feels right.
You know what? Listen to do you watch what podcasts do you like? Are there any podcasts
Um,
that you're
yeah, I've been
frequenting?
listening to a few like female entrepreneur podcasts
Mhm.
mainly.
Do you know Cody Sanchez?
No, I'll write it down.
She what's her contrarianthinking.co is her website. You can sign up her newsletter. Shout out Cody Sanchez, sponsor this
Yeah.
podcast. Um I'm gonna totally tag her when I do the post. Big up, Cody. Check it out. Um, one of her things is like, I don't have to be the smartest. I don't have to be the best. I'm the fastest, you know? And
Oh wow.
something that I think is a super valuable piece of information, because I bet now my microphone's going to swap. Does it sound bad?
No, it sounds great. It's the same.
Okay, okay, good. Um, But yeah, I mean, that I agree with her. It's like they have a thing in their company where, if they have an idea, that they're they will it'll be done by tomorrow. If we're gonna do something, let's just get it done by tomorrow. And
Mhm.
do that over and over and over again. You're gonna beat everybody else who's like sitting there planning and thinking and like wondering what the possible problems. Like, you'll learn more in doing in that first 5 days than anybody who is sitting there for 5 days thinking about how they should do it. You know,
Mm.
and I think that's super valuable piece of information. It does kind of go towards the progress over perfection thinking. It helps validate that in a way, because if you just sit there and take a little bit of action, you're going to learn things along the way. Like, if you're doing copy, for example, and you do it kind of, if you're going from no copy to just like the first draft of copy, and you put it out there, and you have a way of like measuring how people are reacting to it, then you can learn from those reactions, and you can
Yeah, it's a good
you can
point.
it out. You can see what this call to action, at first I had this call to action, and then I changed it to that call to action, and then I changed it to this call to action, and this one did better than that one. Okay, well, let's run this one. And it's like somebody can be sitting there looking at the Figma design for a month and a half before you even have a button. you know
Hmm. I do have a question because I have a lot of ideas for my business. One of
Hmm.
the things that I actually said in remote year that I wanted to be more intentional about was being in the present, because I tend to live in the future, like
Hmm.
5 year plan. What's gonna happen then? Like I wanted to design it all, but I'm working through that. I'm like, what's gonna happen in the next 12 months? That's all I need
Hmm.
to know for now. But so when I've been listening to these podcasts of other entrepreneurs, they have this, they recommend to start with just one offer, just one service, or just one thing
Hmm.
instead of trying to do it all
Hmm.
like right off the bat. What are
I
your
agree.
feelings around that?
You
Yeah.
should, because it helps you market it easier, right? Because then you're marketing to an individual. Maybe your services are for that individual across the board, but at first you still have to like figure out how, like, I mean, for you to want to keep going, you should like make that first buck as soon as possible, because that will like, and
Yes.
as soon as you do, it'll
Yeah.
like, it becomes a motivator, right? The first time you get a client, but you can't stop the hustle there. You have to like always keep, you work that client. They're your number one, and then you always have to keep working towards getting that next one. And it's a lot harder when you're marketing this service and that service and this
Mhm.
service and that service. And so if you really nail down one, and it becomes popular enough, that you don't have to market it so much anymore, you can start looking at the way to upsell those people that are in that are already buying, or that are in the community, that are
Mhm.
watching, maybe have a newsletter, you know and it should be kind of tiered thing. It's like people don't want to spend a lot of money before they know whether or not it's going to be valuable, right? And so there should always be like a free thing, and then something that's a little bit more expensive that the free thing kind of feeds. And then there's the free one, and then the $7 one, and then the $50 one, and then the $100 one, and then the $5,000 one, and the $10,000 one. But you can't go straight for the $10,000 one. You can have an idea about it, but don't, you shouldn't market it. If somebody comes to your website and they're like, holy shit, this is going to cost me $10,000, they're just going to leave. you know
Yeah.
you gotta work into their mindscape, that you're a
Yeah.
valuable person. And so, you shouldn't be focusing about those services. You should be focusing on delivering the value up front for free, because information and knowledge it's free on the internet. you know and
Yeah.
you have to just establish yourself as somebody who knows, and somebody who does, who can help other people do, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that for yourself, then how are you going to do it for somebody else? I find a lot of people come to me and they want to help me with their socials, and then I'll look at their social and I'm like, you don't even post for you. How are you going to help me?
Yeah, that's true.
Where's your website? Where's your social channels? Do you post every day? I'm posting every day. How are you going to help me? What are you going to do for me? And so don't even worry about those other things. Figure out that thing that's the number one, that's gonna that it probably in the middle, right? Like, you don't want going after like the $7 thing. Is like, that's you need a lot of people in a community already to like tap into that.
Yeah.
So you want something a little bit higher, 50 to 100, on a monthly, is like a good kind of middle ground, because people, $50 a month is a little bit easier to spend.
Yeah.
For some people, it depends on who you're selling to, right? Like, what's your target market? Who are you communicating to? What's your story resonating with? You know,
Yeah.
and are those people able to spend $50 a month on something?
Yeah.
And then if the answer is no, then maybe you have to go cheaper. But yeah, I mean, you want to the cheaper it is, the more people you need, and the more people you need, the more cost there is associated with finding those people and getting those people, right? So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of like there's a happy medium. Have you ever done calculus? There's an
I
equation for it.
hated calculus.
Yeah. Well, that's what calculus is for. It's like figuring out the upper and lower limits of your pricing. It's like all of a sudden calculus is useful. You didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is something that you've learned through your entrepreneurial journey? I
You
know,
learn things
sure
every
you've
day.
learned so
Every
much.
day is a learning. Every day you learn
Yeah.
something. Every time you try something, you're learning. That's why
Yeah.
it's so important to just do it. Just do something and let it be imperfect. Let it be a shot. Because what people aren't looking at what you did. People are paying attention to how consistent you are. They're
Yeah.
not looking at all the small words that you're using. You can be they're a perfectionist about, they don't know it's not perfect. Only you have this impression in your mind about it being perfect or not perfect. They're
Yeah.
only experiencing it from their eyes and their ears. What's that saying? People don't remember what you said or what you did. They remember how
Oh,
you made them feel.
I feel. Oh, yeah, I
You
love
know,
that.
and so, people aren't, they don't remember all your articles and all your posts and, what the words you used were. If you use the same words in 6 months, like they're not going to know the difference. What they're going to know is that you post every day and that you deliver
Yeah.
value. And sometimes, oh, she really resonates with me, you know? Those are the things that people remember. So, I mean, you're sitting there worried about whether it's perfect or not, you're really doing yourself a disservice. Like, just show up every day. You know,
Yeah.
people are attracted to like people want constants,
Yeah.
and if you're sitting there worried about whether or not it's perfect instead of posting, then you're failing them in a way. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
No, I get it. And I don't feel like being a perfectionist. It's like a lot of internal things, but I still take action. I think
Hmm.
one of the things that I'm learning everything. And so I'm having a lot of fun with the podcast because I feel like that's where I can really show who I
Yeah.
am.
Hmm.
And I've had really great conversations with people, and I feel like people can get to know me. I feel like I'm better like this than I'm not very good at posting in social media. So I have
Hmm.
someone who's
But
going to
here's the
help me
thing.
with that.
Here's the thing.
What?
Don't think too much about why you're posting. Just talk about what you've done. Like here, you and I had
Um,
a conversation. After this call, I'm gonna do the post production. I put it up on YouTube. I download it from YouTube so it's the right format. I put it in iMovie. I create the intro. I create the extra. I put my ads in the middle, and then I put it up on YouTube and I throw it out to the first 15, 20 people. I don't think about if it's perfect or not.
mm,
And then once it's out there, and I just forget about it. I'm on to the next thing. But what happens is when I go to
what?
LinkedIn the next time, there's going to be something that you and I talk about that's going to inspire that post. I don't think about what I'm going to post about, because
Mm,
I'm just going to post about what just happened. And when you're talking about the things that you're doing, you don't have to put thought into that. Like that's where my fingers just start typing. I'm not a savant of social media. I just There's something on my mind, and I dump it out, and it's going to be about what we talked about in some way. Oh, I talked to this person, she's building this. We talked about these ideas. And hey, I hope this helps you. And then I post that, and then I share it to another social media platform. I have a lot, like a long form thing. I take little pieces out of the long form thing and I put those into short form things, and those short form
mm,
things become posts on Instagram or on Twitter. Little sections where we talked about a specific idea or an experience, or it's just like, don't overcomplicate all the things. Like, you don't need to put it on a pedestal.
yeah.
That's why action is amazing, because when you're taking action every day, you can just talk about the actions.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. How do you make your marketing, or like how do I ask this? So with marketing and branding, right? I want to remain authentic. I don't want to try to be someone I'm not for
Hmm.
the purposes of people consuming my content. And I'm still
Well,
trying to figure out
your
how to
content is your brand, though. Every time you open your mouth, you're representing your brand. Like, you are your brand, right?
yeah.
And so as long as you're authentic in conversations like this, then that's where it matters. Like, what part of your brand are you worried about not being authentic in? Like the colors that you choose, or the logo that you have?
No.
It's like, don't think about it. The thing is, like, don't let it be contrived. That's why you just need to find that creative flow. You just need
Yeah.
to let your fingers go. And maybe you don't put the first draft out of what your fingers put out. You just like create an initial draft, put the ideas of what you want to have in this document or in this landing page. Sometimes you start ChatGPT, like, hey, ChatGPT, I'm creating this service, and these are the things and that I'm gonna be able to do, and these are the people I want to help, and then let it spit it out, and then treat it like an essay that you wrote the first draft of last week. You come back to me like, oh, what was I thinking here? I changed that, change this, change that. You know, put your personal twist on it. And let that be the next version, and let it go out there in the world, get some feedback. Hey, I made this landing page, what do you think? And then take that feedback and be like, okay, yeah, that's a great idea, blah, blah, new draft. This is why, don't go for perfection. Just let
Yeah.
it be progressive, because at
Yeah.
least you got it done, and you can put it out there, let the world see how it is, and then you can focus on these other things for a little while, and you'll come back to it and be like, oh yeah, okay, this could improve. I can see the ways that it can improve now because I've had these other experiences that are influencing my thoughts. You know. So
Yeah.
have you released, how many podcasts have you recorded? Do you have like a library of like secret podcasts that are in the Bat Cave or something?
I have 5 episodes that I've recorded.
Yeah.
Um, one has been edited. And so I'm gonna launch on, so my podcast is Not Your Spicy Latina. And so it's
Mhm.
to inspire other Latinas and tell their stories and provide a space to amplify our voices. And so I'm releasing it on September 16th at the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month. So
Yeah.
I've watched all of the episodes. I've cried, I've laughed. It's been really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. I try and I don't, I'll yeah, once I just set it and forget it. This is a Joe Rogan thing. It's just like I just set it and forget it. I don't look at the comments. I don't read what people have to say. He doesn't have to get
Wait, you
feedback,
don't
but
listen to the episode
I
after?
don't. No. No, no,
What? I
no.
listened to
No.
it in the shower.
No. No. It's over. It's in the past. It's in the past.
I needed to live
It's
forever.
liberating. It's liberating. Just it exists now. It's a part of pop culture.
Wait, you mentioned earlier that it's vulnerable though. So I feel like
Yeah.
I actually, this is the podcast is probably where I feel most confident in terms of, because like what I was talking about with the authentic marketing, I'm being really myself and I'm not
Mhm.
treating it like a structured interview. It's like this. It's just like a conversation, and I'll
Yeah.
ask follow-up questions, and
It's
I've
hard to
gotten
not
good
be
feedback.
authentic in a conversation like this,
Yeah.
you know? I think
Well,
I
I
think
have listened to some podcasts where it feels very serious or very
mhm,
prepared. I don't prepare
yeah,
my questions for the
yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
It's just
It's
it
better
just
that way.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for
Um
this, there's topics, social, it's solopreneurs, digital nomads, and leadership and community. Those are the topics, and it's
yeah.
always going to come into those topics naturally because those are the things that I'm thinking about all the time, and so I
Yeah.
don't I don't prepare those conversations because my brain is going to naturally go towards those things. Like there's lots of things that I could like put out there that are completely contrived, that are relative to what I'm doing, but they're not necessarily what I'm thinking about all the time. Like I could sit here and make tech videos for a YouTube channel where I'm like solving different problems, but I would just be always looking for a new problem to be solving, and that's contrived. Unless
Yeah.
I'm making those videos of technology problems that I'm having while I'm having them, that's the only way that I'm going to have a channel that does something like that, where it's like I'm
Yeah.
solving this problem on the fly, and you can sit there and you can watch me solve it live or recorded, and that's the only way I'm going to do something. And that's actually too much work. I tried it for a little while, and it's just like when you're solving problems, you're just like, I'm in a different mindset when I'm doing that, right? And it's just
Yeah.
like, I'm not this isn't entertaining. Who wants to watch me like fix a bug? Like, oh God.
Hey, I have a question for you though, which I thought was so interesting. So when I when I have like a lineup of guests and I do a
Mhm.
call with them before we do the podcast. I don't ask them like super deep questions, but I just
Yeah.
want to see like if we're vibing.
Yeah.
And I noticed you didn't. So like so what if I had been like horrible or like very
You wouldn't have
boring?
answered. You wouldn't have answered me if you were boring. Boring people don't do fun things. If you're bored, then you're boring. Like honestly, like I can tell immediately if we're gonna have a conversation or not because you'll answer my call. You know,
uh, yeah, that's a good
it's
point.
I like in the last 6 weeks, I've reached out to 700 people on LinkedIn to build my community. Here, look,
Oh my goodness.
700 people, two
Oh,
communities, leaders and
uh-huh.
entrepreneurs.
Okay.
288 leaders and 370 entrepreneurs and mentors.
Wow.
80 of them 80 of them got a star. So they're starred on my LinkedIn because they expressed interest in what I was doing. So like here's how I handle this. Just a little insider information. Um, so every time I add somebody to LinkedIn, I give them a unique note, but not unique to each individual, but unique to their kind of grouping, right? And so I can go back through my LinkedIn list and tell basically where we aligned, right? So I know that I either found you on this group or in that group.
Hmm.
And the group does the hard work of really separating the kinds of people. And so I don't have to worry about that kind of seeking part of it. I know that they're leaders because they're in this leadership group, or they're entrepreneurs and they're in that founders group.
So
And
these are
so
people who've already joined your communities, to be clear.
no, these are just the people that I've communicated to.
You found
We're
them.
talking. No,
Wait,
they're
are
not
these people?
random.
Oh,
They're
okay,
from
okay, okay.
different groups. They're from different groups. I
Oh,
know
but
them.
not your
I
groups.
no. Well, they're groups that I'm a
Oh,
part of. They're not.
oh, okay, okay, okay. Not the
I'm
groups
in
that you've
those
created.
communities. I'm in those
Okay,
communities because I participate in communities. But this is how
okay,
I
okay.
found the people to invite into my group, right? And so yeah, I start with that initial message, and some people, they either accept my invitation or they don't, you know. And if they accept my invitation, that's the first check mark. Yes, you're open enough to accept an invitation from a random person at an event that you're at. The second check mark is, hey, thanks for connecting. And then I'll give them either like a thumbs up for one group and a rocket ship for the other group, right? So it's still inside of my LinkedIn list, I can still kind of separate who's from what group, right? And then the next check mark is, hey, thanks for connecting. I would love to know more about what you're doing, right? And those people get the star because they're the people that I'm going to follow up with later.
Hmm.
And so I have these people. I have, these numbers are the full group, right? There's 288 from that group, and only 80 of them got the star, right? For the free group, so I have my leadership group is a paid group, right? So you can't just invite them in and use that as a metric for whether or not they're, interested in the group, because you have to, for a paid group you have to do some sales, right? But
Yeah,
you don't want to sell to 288 people, because that, I mean, some of them are only open enough to allow you to be in their LinkedIn network. They're not
yeah,
necessarily the people that you want inside of your community, right? So who do you want in your community are the people that are following up. The people who take time out of their day to be like, oh, hey, I checked out your website. Looks really cool. I'd like to learn more. That's a warm lead, right?
mm,
So they naturally reveal themselves to you if you do this exercise, right? And
mm.
so what happens is, I'll do that follow up, and inside of LinkedIn, you'll start getting, if you do the follow up exercise all at once, like I hit up 288 people in a row with this next text, and I can just see inside of the preview of the LinkedIn list of my messages, if they're group A or group B. And so then I just do them one at a time. I did this one, on this day, and then the next day I did that one. And so when you message everybody in a big group, you kind of group them naturally inside of the LinkedIn UI, right? And so, on August 7th, it was all this group, and on August 8th, it was all this group. And then, for the free group, I obviously invited them. I just sent the WhatsApp link, and either they showed up or they didn't. And for the warm leads, I have, they're the people that I might do a follow up with in LinkedIn. I often, like, after the third or fourth message, I would like, oh great, I would love to have a one-on-one with you to talk about what I'm doing, and I'll give them my Calendly link. And so not everybody will go to your Calendly link, so this is another kind of layer, right? And then the people that do, they show up and they spend time with you, and they learn about your idea, and they're interested in you. Like, these are the people I want in my community, and so now you have their email address because you had a one-on-one with them. So now there's like a super short list. So there's the starred list. These are all the people that I gave them my Calendly. And then there's the people who actually joined me for a one-on-one. And so now I have their email captured, and I can start doing email, kind of email marketing with them. But they'll reveal themselves to you. People show you who they are if you give them a shot. only two people were complete psychos, and I'm just like, no, but listen, I deploy empathy immediately. Like, who made you feel this way? Like, why are you acting this way? I'm here for you if you need to talk to somebody, because this is another, like, you're a leader, you need an executive coach, because there's no way you should be responding this way to me. Like, this is not professional. It's like, those people are in a different pool. I don't delete them or block them. I track those people, because because
for their well-being.
No, because at first they just have this weird impression of you, because they what, like I say, it's like when people treat you that way, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with their day. It has to do with what their boss did to them. Maybe they're genuinely a psychopath or a narcissist, and that's fine. It's like, I still want to keep track of them. Like, I don't delete the chats. I might tell them that I delete the chats just so that, like, they they think that their time is completely wasted, and I get a little fuck you. But when if they ever come back to that chat, I want to know perfectly well that it's them. And if they come back and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, okay, maybe I'll give you a shot. And if they come back and they're still a narcissist, then I know that they need executive coaching, and I'm like, okay, well, I also have this service. If you're if you want to level up your communication skills with other,
there's also therapy.
Blah, blah, blah.
That may be another service.
No, yeah, I very much so tell them that I'm not a therapist. I'm not a coach, but I am somebody who's gone through lots of problems that I might be able to, be a good ear and have a conversation. You can have a conversation with somebody who knows, and it's just like, you never take it serious, never take it personally, because you're going into those conversations knowing that you're trying to build something of valuable for them, and it's just like, all they're doing is building the understanding within me that those people aren't the people that I'm looking for. And that's the takeaway that I take away from that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that what you just said. People will reveal themselves to you. And you made me think about the people who have connected the most. They're like consistently engaging or wanting to do like virtual coffee, or we're still chatting and we're connecting. So did I get a star? What did I get?
Well, we connected on we didn't connect on LinkedIn. Yeah.
I still deserve a star.
You got it. You
You're like,
got
okay,
it.
now I'm forced to do it.
Okay, well, we're close to the end. This is gonna ding again. You want to try? You want to just do a last shout out of your,
Yeah, yeah,
your
yeah.
socials and whatever.
Oh my gosh, my socials. Yeah. So, well, I have my podcast launching on September 16th. Not Your Spicy Latina. You can find
Is
me on
it .com?
Spotify.
Okay,
No.
just on. Okay.
Oh,
Do you
just
have a
on.
website?
I do. I should mention it. I need to get better at this.
Yeah.
I'm in
Yeah.
so many places. Okay. My website is fiorellalopez.com.
Okay.
You can find all information about my coaching services for Latinas. My business is called Latinas Ahead. And so you can find me on LinkedIn, or on LinkedIn, you can find me through my name, Fiorella Lopez Lima. And yeah, what else? I'm on Instagram, recently on TikTok. We'll see how that goes. And LinkedIn, probably the best
Don't
places to
overthink
reach me.
it. Don't overthink it. Just do these long form things. I'm telling you, just do these long form things. You put the long form thing out. You take away what your takeaways are from the long form thing. That's your social content for the next week. And you break it up into
Yeah.
smaller pieces. You can put it into some kind of a carousel thing. You have image 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to express an idea, and then at the end you have a call to action. If this resonates with you, come check out this. And then that should go to your website, and your website should have a funnel that says, sign up to my newsletter. And then
Yes.
inside of the newsletter, you give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things of value, and at the bottom, oh, by the way, we have this entry level. Join our community. Buy this product, $7 a month, or $50 a month, and you're creating something that just naturally will be working for you when you're sleeping, and you don't have
Thank
to
you
put a
so
lot
much.
of energy into it. You don't have to be a perfectionist. Just go after a little bit every day and do things like this. And all the value comes in here. And then everything that we talk about here is what you focus on in the next little while.
This has been so helpful. I'm glad we connected. I feel like
Yeah.
I have so many gems because it's a lot, and so I'm trying to give myself grace too,
Yeah.
and but talk to people like you that I think can give me just really good advice and inspire me.
Yeah. I'm available up to an hour a day, and through my fractional services, it's a $1,250 a month flat fee, and you can have a chief of technology or a chief of product by your side. It's worth
Yeah,
it.
totally worth it. This has
All
been
right.
so fun.
Yeah, we'll do it
Thank you,
again
Rick.
when you launch your podcast finally. Maybe we'll have another conversation, and we'll see if you've gotten over
Yeah,
those perfection woes, and
yeah,
if you started implementing some of the things that we've discussed today. I'm gonna know. I'm gonna know. They're
yeah.
gonna
No,
know. They're gonna know, Fiorella.
they're watching me.
Doo-doo-doo-doo. Okay,
That's so crazy. Thank you, Rick.
it was
Nice
my
meeting
pleasure.
you.
Until next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
What is up, World Wide Web? Rad Rick here. Rad Studio is a fractional multipreneur studio that helps solopreneurs and digital nomads build out their leadership teams. It's guided by Ikigai and Kaizen, meaning that it's just one well spent hour per day making continuous improvements in verticals that product owners might lack strength in or might not have time for. So if you're a product owner and you're building a product and you need a marketing person or you need a tech person or a product person, a fractional leader is a great option for you. Because a business owner starting out, you have to wear all the hats. I tell my clients all the time that if you're building a business, yes, you have to build a system that makes a dollar and delivers a value proposition. But you need to take the parts of the business that you hate and then give them to someone who loves it and lives it. And that's where fractionals come into play. It's only about 5 hours a week for them, potentially. It could be less, it could be an hour a week or an hour a month. But then when you need to turn it up, you can turn it up, and you need to turn it down, you can turn it down. And you can add other fractionals. It's really cool. It's all data driven and self governing. It's going to be something that really changes the startup game. Sam Altman said that the next wave of billion-dollar companies are going to be led by individuals. And I believe that this is a framework using fractionals We're going to see a lot more solopreneurs doing a lot better than they would by themselves. Yes, we have AI, we have tools to help us accomplish a lot of things that were harder before. The reality is that if you're building a company, you still need someone in your corner to champion different things like legal, or someone to champion marketing, or someone to champion creative. Nobody is proficient in all of those things. And no matter what your gaps are, there's a fractional for you at Rad Studio. I hope to see you there. Stay tuned. Well, that was Fiorella from Latinas Ahead and the Not Your Spicy Latina podcast. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to that. I hope you enjoyed all the tips and tricks I used to get over perfectionism and the insights that she provided about her experience and her journey. I really appreciate Fiorella for taking the time to chat with me today. In the coming weeks, I will have a few other guests from my communities to listen to their stories and hear what drives and motivates them. If you think you'd like to share your story, if you're a fractional leader, if you're a digital nomad, if you're a solopreneur, please feel free to follow this podcast because I'm making it for you guys and gals. Get into my DMs. I would love to talk to you and hear about what motivates you, what drives you, what your passions are, what your mission is. And I hope to talk to you soon. Stay tuned.